Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a requested painting of Ariana Grande's Thank You Next album cover. I'm really excited to do this, and a lot of people who watched my Harry Styles album cover painting wanted this to be more of a tutorial, as a lot of comments were, how do you do this? Can you make a tutorial on it? How do I draw this bit? So I didn't film this as a tutorial, but I'm going to try and make it look like a tutorial as much as I possibly can, and hopefully make it easier for you guys to follow along if you want to. But there is going to be a few tabs on the screen in case I miss points, so just follow the wording on the screen. So first I'm starting off by drawing the grid, because as you can see on the actual album cover there's like a frame of solid colour around the actual photo of Ariana. So that's what I'm measuring out now. You can't see it very well, I can't remember the exact measurements that I used, but it really just depends on the size of your canvas. Yeah, if you want to get mathematical with it you can do that, you know, it's probably the easier way to do it in a way, but I just like to eyeball it out. Now I'm starting by mapping out Ariana's shoulders and upper body. So this actually was quite challenging. I don't know why. I think it was because it was a smaller canvas and it was a bit awkward drawing upside down. So I did eventually flip it the other way around because I just can't draw upside down. But yeah, this is really trial and error. A lot of you were asking on the Harry Styles one, how do you draw this? How do you get this bit? With the shoulders, I basically initially draw the outline of her body and then I add the details later. Do not add the details when you're trying to map everything out, because then you'll end up changing everything. As you can see, I literally just erased that whole drawing because it just did not look like her. So I start with the outline of her body, kind of like a silhouette, and then later on I will add in facial features. And because I made Ariana bigger herself, I actually had to rearrange the grid as well, and then I redrew her. Wow, would you look at that? Anyway, now it's time to add the hair. The hair was actually quite easy to draw, and I feel like if you add the hair you can really see if your drawing looks weird or not. I just think it helps a lot. Drawing her hands wasn't too difficult because her hands are kind of curving round the back of her arm. They weren't really visible. I'm really bad at drawing hands, but these were actually not that hard. I love this album. I think it is such a good album. Honestly, apart from Dangerous Woman, I'd say this is my favourite album from Ariana. Oh, my favourite songs? Oh my god, I can't even think right now. I'll put on the screen my favourite song, but there are just so many good ones. Needy, Love Needy, Imagine, Ghostin', Breathing. No, that is Sweetener. Wow. Yeah, I started adding small details, so like her breasts, under her hand, her straps. I was kind of redefining her face because she's got quite a sharp jawline and defined features as well, so I was just correcting that. I'm sorry, I'm really not good at voiceovers and I'm really not good at telling people how to do something. I just kind of do it and you just kind of have to watch. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you do genuinely want like a detailed video on me drawing someone and how to draw it with like proportions and that, please let me know and tell me who to draw, and I will do that because this video probably isn't the right one. So here is the drawing. As you can see, there were a lot of layers and incorrections, but it's done. Now it's time to paint the background. So she has quite a vintage feel to this album, so it was initially I made a turquoisey kind of colour for the background, but this ended up being a bit dark, so I just added a little bit more white and a little bit of yellow ochre as well, just to kind of neutralise it, make it look more of a Polaroid effect. And I think it worked out alright, you know, I think it turned out pretty good considering. Now for Ariana's skin tone, in the actual album cover, it's actually quite green. Not green, but it's kind of a grey, saturated kind. I really don't know how to explain it, but I wasn't following the album cover that I have on record. I was actually following her pink album cover because there's actually quite a bit of a different colouring in that one compared to the black cover, so that was the one I was following. This skin tone was a bit too light. I had to make it more dark and more kind of green. I can't explain because it was, I think it was taken on a Polaroid or some disposable camera. I started to add some shadows. So I basically just took a bit of brown, mixed it in with the skin tone that I'd already made, and then just kind of lightly dabbed it in the places that needed tone. And I think this worked really well, and I think I managed to capture the shadows as best as I possibly could. And she had quite a lot of green highlights as well on her skin, so I added that as well. And yeah, so I tried to make it look as much like a vintage photo as I possibly could. Here I'm just cleaning up the edges because you want it to be neat. Just go back in adding highlights and shadows regardless. I just think you can never have too many highlights and shadows, honestly. That's what gives the painting depth and makes it look more realistic. The more you add, the better it looks. So little tip there. I'm so sorry for this voiceover. I haven't written anything. I'm saying everything from the top of my head because this is how unprepared I am. The more detail you add to a painting, the more you notice needs to be added, if that makes sense. So for example, I painted the top and I was like, the shadows aren't dark enough, I need to make them darker, and the highlights need to be more obvious. So it's just all about adding. Her hair was pretty much black in the album cover, so I mixed it with a bit of brown, and it actually turned out the perfect tone and colour as well. It was great. It really, really worked well. Down below, your favourite song from Ariana, not just this album, any song, because I think they're all great, honestly. I was actually taping off her hair because I didn't want it to bleed onto the frame of the painting. So yeah, we'll just add in that. So it was a little bit more neat. Honestly, washi tape for paintings is so good if you need a straight line. It just works perfectly. It doesn't rip the paint up. Now I'm starting to add some hair strands and extra detail in her hair, as well as adding highlights to make her hair look 3D and shiny. This was trying to be satisfying. I don't really know if it was. Okay, now onto the face. This was actually really hard because I didn't want her to look like an alien. Every facial feature that I drew, she looked like an alien, and this was so hard to get perfect. Again, this is just about playing around. Obviously you can do the mathematical way and measure out proportions and do even the grid method if you want to, but that's not how I work. These are the features I came up with. They don't look like Ariana whatsoever at this moment in time, but once you fill them in and paint them, they really start to look like Ariana. Here I'm using black paint for her lips and her eyeliner because that was pretty much all you needed, and it worked out well. This took a hell of a lot longer. This literally took me 5 hours to do this. 5 hours for this tiny little painting. Anyway, that was the little backstory of this. Anyway, what we're doing, we are painting the facial features, and her features were actually quite easy because her eyes were closed, and her main features on her face were her lips and her eyeliner. Oh, quick story time. I was asleep in my bed and I woke up at 4 in the morning, I think. No, I think it was 3. Anyway, I woke up at 3 a.m. to go to the loo, and the biggest spider was on my wall. Honestly, it was near my TV, so it was literally facing me, and oh my god, it was massive. It was a little bit smaller than my palm, but oh my god, it was so big, and I actually had to wake my mum up to get it because I couldn't get rid of it. We threw it out the window. We didn't kill it, don't worry. But yeah, oh my god, I could not sleep when I know there's a spider in my room. They terrify me. Anyway, story time over. I really liked drawing the thank you next wording on her collarbone area. I found it really fun, and I thought it just added so much. I'm using a barrel pen. I think I should have added more shadows in her neck area. I already drew on the letters and I didn't want to mess them up because they worked out really well. So here is the final result of Ariana herself, and now it is time to paint the frame around Ariana. So I did take some washi tape and section off the borders because I didn't want any paint going onto Ariana because I'd worked too hard on this. It had been a good 4 hours into this and I was not about to mess it up. pretty self-explanatory, just painting the frame. I also painted the edges of the canvas as well because it just looks a lot nicer once that is done. And that is pretty much all I did for the album cover. Obviously it looks a lot more complicated than I say it is. And here it's done. Trying to make this as satisfying as possible. Don't know if it worked, but I loved how crisp the lines were. They were pretty crisp. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the final result, adding a few more details with coloured pencils. And here is the final painting. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I definitely think it turned out a lot better than I thought. There are definitely so much more improvements I could do to make this exactly the same, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. I'm sorry this wasn't much of a tutorial, but I tried to make it a tutorial as best I can. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and feel free to comment any video recommendations that you want me to film. Thank you so much for watching this video, and bye!